the whole desert, but it's a piece of the desert. And it's important that we have a piece of the desert in our classroom so that we can understand what it was like. Now, the desert is a dangerous place. There's hardly any water in the desert, so no plants grow. And when the wind blows, the sand changes shape, so it's easy to lose your way in the desert. The sun beats hot in the desert, and so the people must wear clothes that protect them. And at night, it gets very cold. There's nothing to eat or to drink. You can die in the desert from thirst or hunger. The desert is a dangerous place, and people do not go into it unless they have to. The people of God lived in a place where the rains did not come. The crops did not grow, and there was no wheat to grind up to make bread. The people were very hungry. The children cried in their sleep. And so their mothers and fathers decided to leave that place. And even though they would have to cross the desert, they set out toward a place called Egypt. Now, in Egypt, the king is called a pharaoh. When the people arrived in Egypt, they found food and work. But the pharaoh trapped them there. They could not go home. They had to eat what the pharaoh said. They had to sleep where the pharaoh said. They had to do what the pharaoh told them to do. They had to do the work the pharaoh gave them to do. They were slaves. One of God's people, whose name was Moses, went to the pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." But the pharaoh said, "No." Again and again, Moses came to the pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." And again, the pharaoh said, "No." Then many strange things began to happen in the land, but still the pharaoh said, "No." Then something terrible happened. The firstborn son in every Egyptian family, even the family of the pharaoh, died. But the firstborn son of the families of the people of God did not die, because they made a mark over their door in the blood of a lamb, and the angel of death passed over their houses. This time, when Moses went to the Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go," the Pharaoh said, "Yes." Now the people hurried to get everything ready. They packed as much as they could. They were afraid the Pharaoh would change his mind. They made bread, but they did not have time to put the leaven in it and let it sit to rise and get squishy like the bread that we can buy in the grocery store. It was flat. You can still get this bread today. It's called matzo. And when you taste it, you can taste this story. The people rushed to leave. They were afraid the Pharaoh and his army would chase them. Suddenly, they heard the sound they did not want to hear. The sound of the horses' hooves and the rolling wheels of the chariots was like thunder, and the ground shook. The Pharaoh's army pushed them against the water. Now, Moses came so close to God, and God came so close to Moses, that Moses knew how to help the people cross through the water. This one's running. This one looks confused. This one looks happy. Now, when all of the people of God were safe on the other side, the water closed up behind them. The Pharaoh and his army were blocked. They could not pass through. Now the people of God were safe, and they were so glad that they just had to give thanks to God and say their prayers. And Miriam led the dancing. Now, I wonder, what was your favorite part of this story? Now, I wonder what was the most important part of this story. Now, I wonder what part of this story was especially about you, or where you were in this story. Now, I wonder if there was any part of the story we could leave out and still have all the story we need. There's the people of God. And the water the people passed through. Sometimes two stories want so much to talk to each other that we just have to tell them one after the other. So next I want to share this story. It's called Moses, When Harriet Tubman Led Her People to Freedom, written by Carol Boston Weatherford, illustrated by Kadir Nelson, and published by Disney Jump at the Sun. On a summer night, Harriet gazes at the sky and talks with God. I am your child, Lord, yet Master owns me, drives me like a mule. Now he means to sell me south in chains to work cotton, rice, indigo, or sugarcane, never to see my family again. God speaks in a whippoorwill song. I set the North Star in the heavens, and I mean for you to be free. Harriet sees the star twinkling. My mind is made up. Tomorrow I flee. God wraps her in the blanket of night, and she returns to the cabin, sleeps beside her husband one last time. The next day, Harriet tells not a soul her plans. She grips the axe to chop wood, breathes deeply, and murmurs, Lord, I'm going to hold steady on to you. And God whispers back in the breeze, I'm going to see you through, child. At dusk, Harriet chants, when that old chariot comes, I'm going to leave you. She hopes her loved ones hear her song and know it means farewell. While the plantation sleeps, Harriet prays, Lord, send me a sign. Owl screeches. The hour has come. Harriet slips into the night. Running through the swamp, she hears frogs croaking and her own heart pounding. Lord, I can't make it alone. In the moon's reflection on the creek, she sees God's face. Harriet, you dreamed that saints saved you, but mortals will give you refuge. The woman in the wagon who always spoke kindly to me. Yes, Harriet, I must go to her. The woman points Harriet to safe havens, hiding places for runaways, and Harriet steals away into darkness. She creeps through the woods. Her heart flutters. Hush, hoofbeats. Please, Lord, don't let them catch me and take me back to face Master's whip. Don't let my journey end here. In the underbrush, Harriet sinks into a deep sleep. God cradles her. When she wakes, the men on horseback have passed, and day breaks. Thank you, Lord, for watching over me. In a clearing, the safe haven, Harriet knows that most strangers would turn her in, not help her. But the farmer's wife feeds Harriet, then tells her to sweep the yard. I don't know who to trust, Lord. Search for my face in theirs, and for my hands in their work. What have you in your hands? In a dust cloud, she sees the broom become a staff, then a rifle. Harriet startles, but holds on. I will arm you against your enemies, but you will not harm a soul, and no harm will come to you. The dust settles as she stops sweeping, and all is as it was. At nightfall, Harriet climbs into a wagon, and the farmer covers her with blankets. As the wagon wobbles along, Harriet worries that it is heading to jail. Should I leap, Lord? Trust me to protect you, child. A heart song lulls her to sleep. Swing low, sweet chariot. The wagon stops at dawn. Harriet walks till her legs ache. Then she leans against a tree. Lord, I miss my folks. Harriet, your father taught you to read the stars, predict the weather, gather wild berries, and make cures from roots. Use his lessons to be free. You will meet again. A mosquito buzzes in Harriet's ear. She rises and moves on. A boatman rows her upriver. Back on shore, hounds snarl, sniff for Harriet's trail. She races as fast as she can. Lord, I can't outrun them. God speaks through a babbling brook. Shed your shoes. Wade in the water to trick the dogs. Upstream, the barking ceases and fear washes away. Thank you, Lord. Harriet's feet bleed and her gut churns. Under the stars, she draws near to God. Lord, don't let nobody turn me round. I'd rather die than be a slave. Harriet, keep going. You have already glimpsed the future. She recalls dreams where she flew like a bird, sank and was lifted by ladies in white who pulled her north. Fly, Harriet. Your faith has wings. Up ahead, she hears word that patrollers are nabbing runaways and crouches for days in a potato hole. She dreams she is buried alive. Have you deserted me, Lord? Harriet, when you were a girl, you hid in a pig pen to shun the whip. You fought hogs for table scraps, almost starved before you faced the lash. I am with you now, as I was then. An old prayer comes back to her. Lord, make me strong. Help me fight. After 7 days, Harriet rises from that hole like a sapling, reaches for the sun as if to touch God's hand. By moonlight, she marches on, making her way mile after rugged mile, hiding in haystacks, attics, and barns, holding God's hand all the while. She often wearies. How far, Lord? As far as you can walk with me, my child, and I can carry you. When Harriet is about to drop, a couple in a wagon ride by. They say slavery is a sin, and they take her on the last leg of her journey. Not far now, child, not far now. In the promised land, Philadelphia, the sun shines gold in the trees, and Harriet feels light as a cloud. She studies herself from head to toe to see if she has wings. Is this heaven, Lord? Not heaven, Harriet. Free soil. But freedom brings new woes. Lord, I am a stranger here. All my kin are down south. Would you like to see them? As Harriet dusts, her family's faces appear in the wood grain. She wipes a tear from the table. I would make a home for them here. I would give my own life to free them. Then go back for them, daughter, but first go to my house to prepare for the journey. And Harriet goes to church, finds not just holy ground, but a stopping place, a station along the Underground Railroad that slaves travel to freedom. Harriet hands out shirts and shoes, serves butter beans and biscuits to newly arrived runaways, while agents who plot escape paths pass on secret routes that she learns by heart. Finally, a conductor, a guide, she turns to God. I am ready, Lord, lead me. Harriet, I will make a way for you. Risking her own life, Harriet returns to the dreaded South and rescues her family. But she dreams of slaves still in the yoke. She hears their groans, sees their tears, tosses and turns in her sleep. Then God opens her eyes. Harriet, be the Moses of your people. But I am a lowly woman, Lord. Harriet, I have blessed you with a strong body, a clever mind. You heal the sick and see the future. Use your gifts to break the chains. I will do as you say, Lord. I will show the others the way to freedom that you have shown me. Save all you can, daughter. And Harriet heeds God's call, goes south again and again, keeps her bands of runaways moving, come storms and rough country, clear to Canada, Canaan land. And when free souls sing her praises, she gives glory where it is due. It wasn't me, it was the Lord. I always trust God to lead me, and God always does. Well done, Moses. Well done. Wade in the water. It was an instruction for safety. Just like in the story, Harriet had to wade in the water to confuse the dogs that were chasing her. They would lose the scent of runaway slaves if the slaves waded in the water. And that reminds me a lot of the people of Israel that waded through the water to get to freedom. So I wanted to teach you a song, at least a little bit of a song. You've probably heard it before. It goes like this. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. You can sing with me. Let's try it one more time. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. I hope you'll email me a little video of yourself singing that water to join me in a choir of people singing for freedom. Send me your thoughts at sholmes@stpetersdelmar.net. Make sure to include permission to post your thoughts and videos and art on our social media sites. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our next video.